This is the Pause Your Life podcast, where we take a look at the newest research on the effects of today's fast-paced lifestyle and how the meditation organization Pause Your Life offers an escape route from the hamster wheel that is modern living. I'm your host, Hannah-Lee Myers. Mid-episode, we bring you words of wisdom from philosopher, author, and poet James Allen, followed by info on meditation myths. And then, an opportunity to try pausing your life. You can visit pauseyourlife.org to receive free midweek pause materials to help you stay grounded and not get swept away in the madness. Every Wednesday, you'll enjoy an email containing a featured excerpt from a book or blog post, an inspiring photo, and a deep, thoughtful quote. You can also follow Pause Your Life on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Pause Your Life. I'm going to bet that when you think about the pace and intensity of your lifestyle, you wish you could slow things down a bit. Just pause a while. Take a breather here and there. Maybe you're even consciously or subconsciously aware of the fact that the way you're living your life right now isn't good for you. There's also a good chance you're thinking there isn't a whole lot you can do to change your day-to-day activities. In this episode, we'll speak with experts about modern-day work and technology-induced stress, as well as about the effects of a fast-paced lifestyle on health.
We're seeing an increase in anxiety in our society. It's our number one mental illness that's being diagnosed in our country.
We'll listen to the stories of two people who successfully found a way to reinvent themselves, taking steps closer to contentment they too never thought possible.
I came to the point when I'm like, I need to do something. I need to do something real.
Along the way, we'll begin hearing some of Pause Your Life's ideas for how you can transition to a genuinely fulfilling and healthy lifestyle and actually find some peace within. All that coming up in the next half hour on the Pause Your Life podcast. So, I hit the pavement for probably 30 minutes and asked around 20 people to tell me about the pace of their lives.
So for me, it's a little too fast, but that's what happens when you're working two jobs and trying to survive.
The pace of my lifestyle is pretty overwhelming because it's so fast.
For me, the pace of lifestyle is moving a little faster than I'd like, especially with social media being part of our lives.
My pace of my lifestyle often makes me stressed because I have too much on my plate. Work, daughter, home, sick dog.
Of the 20 or so people I spoke to, the overwhelming majority told me their lifestyle is more intense and stressful than they'd like. The responses I got are actually fairly on par with recent polling results looking at nationwide work and lifestyle-related stress. According to the American Psychological Association's stress survey, over 77% of Americans struggle with anxiety and stress issues. Most everyone I talked to said work is their greatest source of unhappiness. And almost everyone mentioned technology. So I decided to dig into those answers and hunt for solutions. The American Psychological Association's 2017 Stress in America, Coping with Change report also found that 40% of workers say their job is very or extremely stressful. And other major studies, like the ones conducted by the Centers for Disease Control, or CDC, for decades, are getting similar results.
Workplace stress is very prevalent.
That's Dr. Naomi Swanson. She's chief of the Organizational Science and Human Factors branch at the CDC's National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. She and many other researchers are trying to convince the public that their lifestyle stress data isn't something to just shrug off as the way things are.
You know, if there were one message that I would like to have clear, it's that stress can be a very serious issue, that it's associated with many, many, many different health issues, short-term and long-term, and that it's even associated with increased rates of mortality.
For years, studies have found that work is the most common cause of our stress problems, and that work stress is causing real harm.
The people who are reporting that they're sleeping less per day has increased substantially from about a generation ago. And you do see people reporting more days of poor physical and mental health, more days of activity limitations, that they have too much to do, and that the demands of their job interfere with their family life.
And what does the CDC recommend as step one when you feel like you're part of the pretty stressed out American workforce?
There are classes or there are places where you can go to learn coping mechanisms, relaxation techniques and things like that, meditation and so on. And these types of techniques can actually very rapidly reduce stress symptoms like anxiety and sleep disturbances.
That was suggestion number one for meditation in my discussions with stress experts. And then there's technology, email and social media. The other culprits people cite time and time again as a major reason why deep down they know they're not as calm and happy as they'd like to be.
Many people I talk to who report that they have problems with too much technology use refer to themselves as being addicted. I started working with this issue in 2009, and I am seeing more and more people reaching out for help.
Tracy Markle is a mental health therapist and the owner and director of the Digital Media Treatment and Education Center. She says that, like with work-induced stress, the toll tech overuse has on many Americans is not something we should continue telling ourselves is just the way things are.
So we're seeing effects at every level. We're seeing mental health effects. We're seeing an increase in anxiety in our society, an increase in depression, ADHD diagnoses, autism spectrum diagnoses, and social and communication disorders. The obesity levels in our country are extremely high, and we're attributing that to technology. And so there are very serious medical implications for the way that screens are interfering in our movement and our day-to-day life. We are also seeing a lack of social connection. People are becoming more and more isolated.
In 2017, the American Psychological Association found that 86% of Americans say they constantly check their emails, texts, and social media accounts. And 42% of those surveyed said they worry about negative effects of social media on their physical and mental health. And yet, we can't stop using it. How many people do you think are in denial? Like straight denial that their tech use and overuse and perhaps even addiction is harmful to what they really want out of life?
I think a large percentage. I think because technology use in our society is so accepted and not viewed necessarily as a problem, like drug and alcohol addiction, that people are not paying attention to how it's causing problems in their life. And I think although it's a choice per se, we can't forget the fact that there is a chemical involved. There is a motivating neurotransmitter that's pushing us to engage in this behavior because it does provide a little bit of relief and excitement. It's like eating a piece of chocolate. I get on social media and I see a post on my Facebook page that I really like, a little bit of dopamine release, and that keeps us coming back. So I think people are really confused about why this thing is causing me so much turmoil, yet I still really want to do it.
Markle says it's all about finding balance and having the courage to set boundaries. When I asked her what people should be doing with the time they're spending constantly checking their devices, she said, get outside, get some face-to-face time with friends. And she added,
meditation has a long history and has proven in research that it's very effective as a stress reducer.
And there was meditation suggestion number 2 from an expert. Okay, so people are stressed out, and technology use and work life play a big part in that. But who's really digging into not just the polling results behind all this and what people say about their lives, but the science of modern-day stress and lack of contentment.
Okay. This room is the room where we'll be doing stress experiments.
Dr. Monika Fleschner works in the Department of Integrative Physiology at the University of Colorado Boulder. Dr. Fleschner heads a state-of-the-art research program that studies the impact of stress on the body.
These are some of the other types of equipment. These are called shuttle boxes. So one of the behavioral consequences of stress exposure is that animals fail to learn a very simple task, which is to run through that door and back again to terminate the foot shock. And that failure to learn that is called learned helplessness. So they have been exposed to a stressor that they can't control, and pretty soon they give up.
That's interesting. So it's kind of like a person who feels like they're stuck in their work life and their lifestyle, and there's nothing they can do about it, so it just starts getting worse.
Yeah. I mean, an animal that hasn't had that prior experience with this stressor has no trouble with this at all. You know, they zip through it, boom, boom, no problem. These are another set of equipment that allow you to do another task called conditioned fear. So it's another stressor that's psychological. So an animal or a person who gets exposed to some type of a stressful event associates the context in which that happened with that event. Repeated experience of these fearful events begin a cascade of changes that what I call is the tipping point where you turn normal fear into pathological fear.
Could that be something that proves true on a maybe more subtle level? Like, let's say someone hates their job and they go into their office every day, and the more they go into their office, the more fearful they get about going into their office?
I know a graduate student friend of mine, when she was trying to finish her doctorate, she was miserable. And she told me that toward the end, just walking in the building almost put her into a panic attack.
And what did Dr. Fleschner have to say about ways to alleviate unhealthy lifestyle stress and lifestyle-based anxiety?
The adaptation of mindfulness,
AKA meditation,
is incredibly powerful. That's some of the best research that's out there, the impact of mindfulness, something that you think when you first start to explore it just can't be that powerful, but it really is. It has an incredible effect.
And there's the immediate suggestion of meditation from stress expert number 3.
Chris.
Hi.
Annalie, good to see you.
Hey, great to meet you.
Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for having
me.
Malar, pleasure.
Here enters Chris and Malar Curran, the founders of Pause Your Life. Chris is no stranger to the grind. He worked hard, really hard, doing what he thought was expected of him, put himself out there, and tried pushing through high-intensity situations just 'cause.
One time when I was working in the recording studios in New York City, I had my first big chance to mix an album, and it didn't work out, and I was very, very disappointed by that. Back then, I was kind of crushed. And then a little later, I ended up living in my friend's basement. I actually had no money, I had no car, and I had no job. And it was like the lowest point in my life, and I lived in his basement through a very cold winter, and this basement had no heat. I mean, it was freezing cold, literally freezing, below freezing. And I had to sleep in that environment. And it was around that time, right at that time in my life, that I thought, this is crazy. There's got to be more to life than this. And I had tried so hard for so many years to do the right thing and to get ahead, and it just seemed like nothing was working. And I hit the wall. I said, there's got to be more than this. And that's when I turned towards meditation and spirituality. And those ended up being the things that basically rescued me from that situation. And I ended up pulling myself out of that situation with the help of meditation and spirituality.
Millar, Chris's wife, was also hitting roadblocks in her pursuit of happiness. She came to the U.S. from India as an adult in search of a better life, and for a while, she thought she'd found it.
Life was excellent. Brand new car, my own apartment. This is the very first time in my life I'm just living for myself.
But like Chris, after his basement living, helmet record mixing, rock bottom moments, Millar started to see she hadn't really found her best life yet.
So I was really a great job, and I was living the life of my dream. And one fine day, I was laid off. Everything was removed. When I said laid off, I lost my job. My status here, staying in the United States, is based on my job because I was on H1. So that one was also revoked. And I really wanted to bring my son here for his higher education. Everything is now gone. As if somebody pulled the rug under my feet.
But, as is often true, all was not lost.
So I cried the whole night, and next day I woke up and I realized I was still alive. All this time I was thinking at least the job was the one thing I can count on. That is the protection that I had. And even that one is gone. And I wake up the next morning and I feel I'm still alive. Then I called my friend immediately and I said, Rani, I'm still alive. She was like, is everything okay? What are you doing? Where are you? Why are you saying this? I said, I lost my job yesterday, and I thought with that everything is gone, but I'm still alive. So then I set the phone down, and the whole day I was thinking, there is something beyond what I think as existence. Just the living part of it, the job, your money, your status. You name all of it that we think are the security of our life. Those are there, but there is something beyond that, beyond for our existence.
Chris and Millar's separate pursuits of a better life brought them to meditation. That's how they met. And not all that long after they got married, they decided to extend a hand to others, living the same way they used to. No, they didn't join or start a religion. They just started taking change seriously. They knew they needed a fresh perspective and to pause.
And that's when we thought everyone, especially in the United States, everyone is just crazy. Working, family, busy, technology. I mean, it's nonstop, all day, every day craziness when you step back and look at it. So we thought, because we had been on many retreats by then, if people just pause, just stop and take a break for 2 hours or maybe 2 days on a retreat and just be a human being. Drop all the baggage, drop all your roles and titles, drop everything that you think defines you. Just set it down and just be a human being for a couple hours.
And that's how Pause Your Life was born. It's an organization with a meditation focus that offers the public free monthly meetups in an atmosphere of total acceptance, including exercises where you can press the pause button and return to your life renewed and refreshed, and maybe even with some new friends. Pause Your Life participants have the option to take it to the next level and pause for a few days at retreats where Chris and Millar, surrounded by calm nature, offer all sorts of tips for finding inner peace and true contentment. There's even a popular universe box. But more on that in the next episode of the Pause Your Life podcast. We invite you to stay tuned for words of wisdom from philosopher, author, and poet James Allen, read by co-founder of Pause Your Life, Chris Curran. Afterwards, Chris explains some meditation myths.
James Allen, Broad Park Avenue, Ilfracombe, England. Along the highways of Burma, there is placed, at regular distances away from the dust of the road and under the cool shade of a group of trees, a small wooden building called a rest house, where the weary traveler may rest a while and allay his thirst and assuage his hunger and fatigue by partaking of the food and water which the kindly inhabitants place there as a religious duty. Along the great highway of life, there are such resting places, away from the heat of passion and the dust of disappointment, under the cool and refreshing shade of lowly wisdom, are the humble, unimposing rest houses of peace, and the little, almost unnoticed byways of blessedness, where alone the weary and footsore can find strength and healing. Nor can these byways be ignored without suffering. Along the great road of life, hurrying and eager to reach some elusive goal, presses the multitude, despising the apparently insignificant rest houses of true thought, not heeding the narrow little byways of blessed action, which they regard as unimportant. And hour by hour, men are fainting and falling, and numbers that cannot be counted perish of heart hunger, heart thirst, and heart fatigue. But he who will step aside from the passionate press, and will deign to notice and to enter the byways which are here presented, his dusty feet shall press the incomparable flowers of blessedness, his eyes be gladdened with their beauty, and his mind refreshed with their sweet perfume. Rested and sustained, he will escape the fever and the delirium of life, and, strong and happy, he will not fall fainting in the dust, nor perish by the way, but will successfully accomplish his journey. So now I'm going to share an important distinction about meditation, as well as several myths about meditation, and a very helpful tip at the end. So first, an important distinction. Some meditation practices have the sole purpose of relaxing you by guiding your mind in certain directions. Guided meditations, with someone talking to you and directing your thoughts the whole time, fall into this category. Other meditation practices exist for the purpose of regulating your mind, consolidating your power, and experiencing deeper spiritual states and revelations. Obviously, both are good, but be aware of their vastly different purposes. For the rest of this section, I'll be specifically discussing the second type of meditation that I just mentioned, a practice with a purpose far beyond mere relaxation. Regarding the first type I mentioned, relaxation types of meditation, all I have to say is that there are really no rules to using them. Just do them, relax, have fun if you'd like to. Now, any meditation practice that exists to help you consolidate your power and experience deeper spiritual states is simply a tool to help you regulate your mind. Not thinking too much or too little, but to think just enough, but not too much. Most of our minds are constantly going haywire with millions of thoughts. It's a frantic stream of thoughts that is impossible to stop. And because of this tendency, we become mentally overwhelmed, fatigued, and weak. So when you practice meditation and your mind becomes balanced and undisturbed, you're able to access more of the power of your mind, which means you'll be smarter, wiser, and you'll make better decisions and achieve greater results in your life. Okay, so now on to the myths. Number 1, Meditation is difficult. I can't meditate. Okay, firstly, whenever you start anything new in your life, you're not going to be great at it. It takes practice to become good at anything. Second, you're actually meditating a lot already in small bits when you're pondering things or brooding over things, when you worry about things especially. So you're already doing it, actually. Now you just have to orient your meditations on more positive ideas and then practice them and become good at it. Every human being can meditate. That's not a question. Okay, myth number 2. Thoughts during meditation are bad. Not true. They are the result of your past thoughts and actions. It's like your mind gains momentum when you're living life. You know, whizzing around, doing things, talking, thinking constantly, more talking. So when you actually sit down to meditate, usually the first 15 minutes or so are needed just to allow this thought momentum to exhaust itself. So thoughts are actually a good thing if you're able to just let them go and not give them any power. And that's actually one of the secrets of meditation, is learning how to ignore your thoughts. And that leads us to myth number 3. You are your thoughts. Not true. Your mind is only one part of you. It's a faculty that you possess, but your mind is not you. That little voice inside your head is not you. It's just your mind. Okay, myth number 4. You need music or candles or mantras in order to meditate. Not true. You don't need any external support to help you meditate. In fact, they can actually slow down your progress because you can become dependent on them. So really, you don't want to be dependent on anything external to yourself. Okay, and now a very helpful tip. In the beginning, when you're learning how to meditate, it's very helpful to have guidance from someone or some group who has a lot of experience meditating. Personally, when I was just getting started with meditation, I tried to meditate at home by myself, and it was a dismal failure. And I've heard the exact same experience from 99% of the people I've spoken to and trained in meditation. In the beginning, at least for a while, learn from someone with experience, and only then consider breaking off on your own. So lastly, if you want to learn the technique that we use, it's called lightness meditation. You can find details and instructions on our website at pauseyourlife.org.
And that does it for this episode of the Pause Your Life podcast. We look forward to continuing our Pause Your Life journey together on the next episode, where you'll get the scoop on just how the Pause Your Life program works and what it offers you. And remember, you can always visit pauseyourlife.org to check out upcoming retreats, meetups, and to sign up for your free midweek pause materials to keep you grounded. Music for the Pause Your Life podcast was composed by DJ Budabomb, and our theme music was produced by Ganges. You can find them both on SoundCloud. The light within us honors the light within you. I'm Hannah Lee Myers. Thanks for listening.